My goodness, it's Sonic karaoke style. Probably good thing this isn't by Nintendo. They'd actually run with that kind of idea. Hello and welcome to another episode of GameHammer. This week we're looking at another classic game. This is the first version of Sonic the Hedgehog that I ever actually played, and it's on the Game Gear, which is the handheld console that I adored. It's the one I had as a kid, and I love it still now. It's got a lot of great games. This is one of them. So let's take a look at Sonic the Hedgehog. So here we are with the famous Sega scream. Yep, it's not as good as the Mega Drive version, but what can we say? Sonic the Hedgehog on the Game Gear is a brilliant game regardless of which format you're looking at it on. So let's have a look at how this fares up. It's a smaller game than on the Mega Drive. It starts with the Green Hill Zone and keeps going up the same area. You're all on one island. You go from Green Hill to Bridge to Jungle, and then we move on to the more interesting ones when it does a close-up on the top. We have the Labyrinth Zone, not one of my favourites, and you'll see why in a moment. And then we move on to the Scrap Brain Zone. So yes, we are going to get through this very quickly. It's a much smaller game than the Mega Drive equivalent. Because after that, Sky Base, and that's it. That's pretty much all that there is for the entire game. So, we're here in the Green Hill Zone, starting off the same way that the Mega Drive one does, and as you can see, the Game Gear is making the most of its colours. It looks wonderful. At first, if you were just having a glance, you wouldn't think, oh, that's a handheld console, because it looks so good. And it is good. It's very good. It's not the same as the Mega Drive. It's a platformer in the Mario style more than in the Sonic style, but it still works out and it's still great fun. Moving on, and we're coming into the Bridge Zone where it's obvious that this is more of a platformer than the Mega Drive's Run Fast Simulator. It's got an awful lot more precision jumping, an awful lot more timed events for getting across certain parts and defeating certain enemies, but it's still great. And here you are on the Jungle Zone. Would you see this in the Mega Drive version? I mean, okay, the background is awful, and on the Game Gear screen it's actually quite eye-straining, but here we have precision jumping in a Sonic game, and you wouldn't see that on the Mega Drive. It's a very different beast here on the Game Gear, and here the time jump, it's just so different, but it works really, really well. I love this game. As I said, it's the first Sonic that I ever played, and I love it. It's such a good, fun game. So if you give it a try, I think you'll like it too. Now let's move on, and we're now in the Labyrinth Zone. You might have noticed that quick slide down there with the animation is pretty much just taken and shrunk down from the Mega Drive version, and so is the picking up the air bubbles to keep yourself going, and also the fact that this is an awful level and you shouldn't be underwater in a Sonic game. That's also come from the Mega Drive. Moving on to Scrap Brain Zone, this is the one that I hate the most because you keep going around through these little portals and into various places. You can see how the game is laid out actually there, because the score wasn't on screen until we moved away from the door. Just the way the foreground and background elements mix together is quite interesting. But the game itself, oh, this part of it, oh my goodness, I just hate it. If you hit the wrong bit, you have to go right back to the start and move around. You just easily get lost until you basically memorize the entire level, and it's not very good, and I'm glad when we get through it. Although then you see what's afterward, and here all the precision timing comes in again. You have to avoid these lightning conductors and avoid the enemies, and it's just awful. It's so slow as well. The Game Gear is being taxed beyond what it really should be doing at this point, because you can see a lot of slowdown. But once you get past that, you get back onto the Sky Blimp, Robotnik Sky Blimp, and this is fun. This section I really enjoyed, even with these little explosive guys. I still enjoyed the game and the level. It's a nice end to the game. Then we come on to the bonus levels. Now these are very different to the Mega Drive versions because they're essentially just Sonic Pinball, and you get the chance to grab a load of rings, and if you get 100 you get an extra life as usual, but it's also the chance to grab a continue. You will not find any Chaos Emeralds in the bonus levels because they're not in the bonus levels, they're hidden on the main levels. If you played Sonic Mania recently, you'll know how that is. They're just hidden somewhere and you'll find them. Every time you come into the bonus stages, they're different. There's a load of these, and they're in the same order every time, so you get to know them. but it doesn't stop them being fun. Frustrating also, but fun. I really enjoy these bonus levels. There we are, we get to continue and we can move on with our lives. Have to try and get out of here within the time limit, however. If you don't, you will not get anything that you've picked up. So, let's talk about the bosses. Robotnik here is very similar to his Mega Drive counterpart. You hit him several times, and then he explodes, then you run off to finish the level. However, all of the stages are essentially different. They're all different set pieces, they're all imaginative. Here we're just doing the basic thing where he floats backward and forward, then you headbutt him until he explodes. It's not much to it, but even so, it's a pretty decent introduction. It's the end of Green Hill Zone. Next stage we have is a tricky one because you've got to time everything perfectly and dodge by ducking. If you dodge and duck at the wrong time, you will, because that ground is curved, float left and right, well, roll left and right and get hit by his bullets, so try not to do that. Similar idea on the second proper fight with him, where he's rolling these bombs around, so just keep jumping, keep out of the way of the explosive, and bash him when you can. You get through it, it's not bad. Then we get the aquatic one, where suddenly you don't need to worry about breathing underwater, because it just keeps going until you finish. It's an imaginative fight. I actually like it, even though the rest of the level for the labyrinth is not very good. But it is pretty fun, it's pretty imaginative, and it's very easy to fall into one of those pits, so don't do it. However, here's the fun part. Even Dr. Robotnik doesn't like the Scrap Brain Zone because he doesn't bother to fight you on it, he just runs away. So follow him on his lift, and that's it. It's not hard, but yeah, Scrap Brain's so bad even the bad guy doesn't want to be involved in it. What can I say? And then the final stage up in the sky in his blimp, very reminiscent of the Mega Drive one, where he's in a capsule basically, and you just have to keep avoiding things and then smacking into him. Once you've smashed the glass and he realises that the game's up, he's going to run away into his teleporter. He thinks he's getting away, but just wait until he disappears, and then you can join him too, and oh my goodness, you teleport too. I wonder why he didn't think that was going to happen. So you chase after him, he's in his blimp again, he's in his little portable thing again, so you chase after him and then you smack into him, and that's the game. Why you appear in the air and he doesn't, I don't know, but it works out. And that's it. That's the whole game. Now we get to top up our score, and then that's it. Back to the karaoke. All in all, this is a fantastic game. You can get through it in like an hour or so. Or if you're as bad at it as I am, about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's not a long game. You can defeat it within the Game Gear's battery life, which is always useful because it hasn't got that much. And then that's it. It's a fantastic handheld game, and I can't recommend it highly enough, especially since it's now out on GameCube, PlayStation 2, Xbox, and pretty much everything else on virtual consoles these days. Get a copy, I think you'll enjoy it. Okay, there you are. I think you'll agree that it is one of the classic games. It's definitely one of the best games on the Game Gear, and it's not really the same very fast, must-go fast, speed affair that the Mega Drive was. It's not the powerhouse of technology and graphics and speed. It's more a traditional platformer, and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. As this game demonstrates, there's a lot of life in that format, and it's very, very good when you do it properly, which this game, of course, does. So there you are, Sonic the Hedgehog, the original, on the Game Gear. We will be having a look at its sequel at some point, but not today. So for now, that's all we've really got time for. So I hope you liked this, and if you did, remember to click that like button, share it with your friends so that they'll know a good game when they see it, and do subscribe for future videos because there will be more in the future. But until next time, I've been Kirk-Robinson, you've been watching GameHammer on the Knob Mouse channel, and I'll see you next time. Today's video is brought to you by my graphic novels, The Collected Life of Knobty Mouse, Volume 1, All Over the House, Volume 1, and All Over the House, Volume 2. Thank you.